Hey everyone, Tony Walsh here. Welcome back to the channel. I recently posted a video on cleaning the garden space there behind me, and one of my viewers, Gary from GBL, the old 5-acre church homestead, wanted me to talk about my weed fabric a little bit because there are a lot of different options out there. So I told him I would, and that's what today's video is about. So let's get turned around and talk about some weed fabric. Okay, here you see our garden spot that has the weed fabric down, and yes, there's dirt on it because some of it we intentionally cut holes, and some of it, weeds have sprouted through. And if you think weed fabric is going to stop all weeds, you're sadly mistaken, because we all have driveways in our house. We've seen weeds grow in the middle of highways. A weed has a mind of its own, and it can grow through anything. The idea is if we can control 90% of it, we are far better off. So let me show you the two different weed fabrics that we have used throughout our time gardening, and one we no longer use. So we no longer use this cheap cloth. And I'm going to say cloth because it feels just like cloth compared to this that feels like some kind of plastic, and it's, you can see it, you can feel these fibers right here and feel it's plastic. A definite difference between these two. As a matter of fact, you can cut this one very easily with a pair of scissors or a pocket knife. This one here takes a little bit more effort, and in fact we use a propane torch to cut it with. Just light the torch and cut your lines, and very easy to work with doing that. Also, this here does not have any lines, so you don't know about row measurements or anything like that if you laid it on top of the dirt, versus this one, and this is a 4-foot roll. But this one has lines every 12 inches. So you got a 12-inch spot here, a 12-inch spot here, a 12-inch spot here, and a 12-inch spot there. You could actually plant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows if 12 inches is your measurement that you want. So that's a good thing about this. The other thing about this weed fabric, I mean, it comes in 3-foot rolls, it comes in 4-foot rolls, it comes in 6-foot rolls. It also comes in mats. So if you just want to lay out, for the lack of a better term, like a tarp, comes that way, so that way you don't have to mess with the roll, because these things can be heavy. And even with that, these come in a 3.2 ounce and a 5 ounce segment, so or weight. And obviously the 5 ounce is going to be heavier, but to me the advantage, and I do not know which one this is, I couldn't even tell you the brand of this right here. I know we bought it from Amazon, but I can't tell you the brand, so I can't tell you the weight. But moving forward, I will go with the 5 ounce because I want the thickness and the durability of the heavier weed fabric. Because one, I plan on leaving this down for a long time, so I want it to withstand the weather that we have. I want it to withstand our weight of walking across it, and if we're pulling, our wagons or gorilla carts across the top of it, I want it to withstand that weight. Plus it being a little bit heavier, hopefully it does a better job of stopping the weeds. Now I'm going to say this, that I have stopped 90% of the weeds. The weeds that grew through that you saw in my past video was obviously really laziness from our perspective. We should have clipped those weeds a little bit sooner. We just had a tough summer here. So when you're looking at the weed fabric, make sure you get the 5 ounce, or that's my recommendation, get the 5 ounce over the 3.2. The 3-foot wide, 4-foot wide, or 6-foot wide, or the mat, that is just totally up to you. Of course, obviously it's a pricing issue. Just remember, 6 foot, you got to have long arms to roll out this 6 foot. 4 foot, you know, is not a bad arm spread. It's just weight. So it really depends on how much weight you want to handle when this roll is full. Again, I don't know what the weight of one is. I guess on Amazon it would tell you what it is for shipping purposes. So you just have to keep that in mind. And again, with this fabric here, I highly recommend a small propane butane type torch to cut with, because it's not only just cutting these lines here. If you decide to plant like we did last year, and let me turn you around right here where you can see. You can see we cut X's in the ground with the torch, and that's where we planted the tomato plants, because we planted the plants right into the ground itself, not into the beds. So obviously weeds are going to grow up there now. So depending on what I do here next year, I may just put another layer over the top of that just to give me more strength and more protection from the weeds. The other thing that we do is we overlap our seams. So I have a roll right here. I started from that edge, come this way. So I have a row right here, or a row of fabric, but I overlap this about halfway so that I have a 6-inch gap, or a 6-inch overlay, to where one, it would protect the seams from the weeds growing through, plus also as our weight, as we walked across it, if we scuffed our feet or the dog walking across it, that it just protected those seams more. Now these rolls, most of them also come with these stakes. I'd recommend ordering an extra box of stakes so that you can really pin this down. This has been down since early spring, and you can see through all the weather we've had, including Hurricane Debbie, which to us was a tropical storm Debbie when she came through. This has stayed down perfect. You don't see any of it rising anywhere in here, except to where I tried to pull the roots of the plants up and it picked it up. So that is human on me, not the fabric's fault. Now one thing I can also tell you is this stuff is hot. So I highly recommend putting some type of bark down there. Now you can get bark from Lowe's, Home Depot, the big box stores, but I'm trying to get a hold of the companies that clear tree limbs off power lines, and they run all them limbs through a chipper. I'm trying to get one of them to bring me a load. So one, I'm not having to spend money at a big box store, and then it is recycled real product. Now it might not be colored, because you know that from the big box stores you can get it colored in red, black, or whatever, and that's nice. But if I can go natural and save money and recycle some of that stuff, that's the way to go. So hopefully I'm going to do that, because you can see I've already started laying my bed out for this fall to where I can get some carrots and beets in, and a few other cold weather crops. So I'd really like to have some bark down here, because then that would also help protect the seams, would also help protect the fabric, and would also help slow down some weeds. So just do your research when you're looking at this fabric. And again, the width is totally up to you, because it's really the weight that you can handle. Whether you want to match, totally up to you. But I just highly recommend the 5-ounce versus the 3.2 ounce. Gary, I hope this was helpful to you. I hope it was helpful to anybody that wanted to know a little bit more about weed fabric. If so, leave me a comment below. If you think I'm full of you-know-what, leave that comment as well. Each of us have our own opinions. We have our own way of gardening. You know, we're just here to offer what works for us, and if it works for you, great. If it don't, that's great, but share your thoughts and ideas as well. If you don't know Garry and Miss Betty from GBL, the old 5-acre church homestead, I encourage you to go check their channel out. You know, Gary is sometimes all over the board on his channel, and that's a great thing because it's his life. And that's what we do this for. It's our lives. None of us are going to get rich on YouTube. We're not going to get famous on YouTube, but it's about living our lives and sharing our lives with you. So go check out Gary and Miss Betty at GBL, the old 5-acre church homestead, and I will leave a link to their channel in this description. So until we get back together, y'all take care and God bless.